Never, ever, ever in my life have I seen any transaction so incompetently negotiated as our deal with Iran.
That was Donald Trump earlier on Capitol Hill, continuing his anti-Iran nuke deal talk, and just pure anger and frustration. Both he and Ted Cruz made an appearance at the Tea Party rally, protesting the administration's agreement to go through with this deal. But will the protests change the resolution? Will it actually get anyone to blink here? Right now, they've got, just by the thinnest of margins, a veto-proof coalition put together. That could change, though, next week. Joining me now, Katrina Pearson, spokesperson for the Tea Party Leadership Fund. Katrina, you were there. Just tell us about the atmosphere, because it felt electric.
Well, great to be with you, Charles. And I got to say that there were thousands of people out in the heat today to support this rally to stop this Iran deal. Will it change things? Who knows? This was really more about showing America that there are people standing up against this. Ted Cruz said it brilliantly when he said that every Senate Democrat was going to have the lives of all that will be taken when the Americans fund terrorism, when we give money to Iran. That was a very bold statement, and those people are now going to have to deal with their constituencies based upon what he said, because it is very true. If this goes through next week, Charles, that's $100 billion. And Ted Cruz said this: if this happens, the United States will be the leading funder in terrorism. How is that going to sit with the American people?
I love the fact that he said that. I love the fact that he was pretty straightforward about people dying around the world, Israel,
Yes.
America, Europe. He was pretty, he used words and he used language, actually, that you may not want to hear when we hear it's dangerous. No, go specifically, and I thought that was pretty interesting on his part as well. And I do think that there's still some hope, because if you make these people down in Washington, D.C. actually stand up, forget about a filibuster, forget about,
Right.
trying to go through some sort of procedure where you don't have to be seen in the light of day, agreeing to this, you might get one or two of them to blink. Was there anyone there hopeful that there could be a last-second change of heart?
Well, I think that remains to be seen, but you can definitely tell word was getting out. I mean, you also had Congressman Mark Meadows there and several others that were speaking out against this deal. But more importantly, Senator Cruz invited none other than Donald Trump. This is how you bring more media and more cameras to events like this. Most of the mainstream media ignore Tea Party rallies. This was a Tea Party rally, and now everyone is talking about it, and now this message is getting out there. He did the exact same thing with fighting against Obamacare when he joined with the Heritage Foundation and toured the country and got so many people involved who weren't otherwise. So I do think there might be a possibility now that the truth is getting out there to more people who weren't paying attention before.
It's interesting. I wish he would have brought President Obama out there. And I say that not really in a disparaging way, but from the very beginning of the Tea Party movement, one of the big mistakes I think President Obama did was, A, he allowed the organization to be smeared by the media, smeared by political operatives, and I don't think he ever attended a single Tea Party rally. He never shook the hands of a grandmother who was simply afraid that her children and her grandchildren would not have the life that she had. He never sat down there and instead he let it be talked about as a racist organization. First they were rich, then they were poor, then they were angry, but they were never Americans who just simply cared. And I'm glad that it resonated, and I'm glad that Donald Trump moved down there. How would you rate Trump's presentation and acceptance by the crowd?
Well, it was actually surprisingly short. I figured he started and we had about 40 minutes to hear him talk about his plans, but it was about 5 to 6 minutes. It was very concise, and he pulled one of his Trumpisms where he says, I'm going to do this even before I get elected, and it was really great. There were so many people there, Charles, and the media. Normally you have your political rock stars where the media just crowds them like their own little paparazzi. This time there were people falling over each other, knocking over tables, trying to get to Trump. It was amazing. People were just astounded.
Well, he did have that one soundbite that I think people are going to play over and over again, talking about winning. I think we have it. Can we just play it real quick?
We are going to turn this country around. We are going to start winning big league. We are led by very, very stupid people. Very, very stupid people. We cannot let it continue.
All right, Katrina Pearson, I got to let it go there, but I'm glad you were there and I'm glad you showed up on the show. I still think this thing could be saved. I really do. I think it's the worst deal possible. I'm glad everyone's rallying around the effort to stop it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
you know, we just saw the clip of Donald Trump. Believe it or not, even Elizabeth Warren also cheering Donald Trump. Wait until you hear this one. We'll be right back.